Assalamualaikum dan salam sejahtera. Anda sedang menonton Agenda AWANI dan Agenda AWANI kali ini memfokuskan kepada Laut Cina Selatan. Kita kerap pergi ke tepi pantai dan sebagainya mengetahui tentang isu nelayan. Tapi bagaimana tentang isu yang lebih besar yang mendasarinya terutama dewasa ini kerana ada pertindihan tuntutan terhadap wilayah maritim di sekitar Laut Cina Selatan, ada isu zon ekonomi eksklusif, ada juga isu tentang sekarang berlakunya projek tebus guna dan sebagainya walaupun pertindihan tuntutan itu belum diselesaikan. Dalam konteks itu, saya berterima kasih kepada MIMA kerana di hujung 2 hari persidangan mereka tentang Laut Cina Selatan, itu saya telah berjaya membawa ke sini, ke studio Agenda AWANI untuk kita membincangkan isu ini, dan kita ada orang dari Cambridge dan sebagainya. Oleh itu saya ingin meminta izin berbicara bahasa Inggeris. I would like to now introduce my very honoured guest for tonight. Closest to me is of course Laksamana pertama Datuk Chin Yun Chin. Terima kasih Datuk. Datuk adalah Ketua Pengarah Institut Maritim Malaysia ataupun MIMA. Of course I have Captain Martin A. Sebastian, fellow penyelidik Pusat Konsultan Maritim dan Diplomasi Institut Maritim Malaysia, MIMA, Research Fellow Center for Maritime Security and Diplomacy, Maritime Institute of Malaysia. And last but not least, of course, anybody from Cambridge will always be welcome here in this country. Dr. Marcus Gehring, the fellow for Pusat Undang-Undang Antarabangsa. I don't know how to pronounce this exactly, but Lauterpacht, Center for International Law, University of Cambridge. There was a lot discussed during the conference, if you can go to the website and look at it. But I caught the tail end of it and on the second day. And I would like to start from the end here, because that's the best part. Because Datuk closed by saying certain things. And if Datuk can help me and the audience see what's the latest, especially from this conference, on what's happening in the South China Sea. Of course, if a man got bitten by a dog, that's not news. But if a dog get bitten by a man, so it's always the sensational stuff that we've been hearing. You know, fishing vessels, altercation between navy and fishing vessels, oil rigs and whatever else. But from this conference, what's the takeaway that you would like for the Malaysian public to know?
Okay, thank you for inviting us here. I think for the last 2 days, what have been discussed is very fruitful to us in MIMA. And hopefully we can take on some of the points that are being deliberated. The first day, it covers the historical aspect of the claim, how claimants justify their claim using historical facts and things like that. And the legal implications regarding to UNCLOS 1982 was also discussed extensively. And we followed by the environmental issues due to the constructions of structures in the area, how it's going to affect the ecosystems and things like that. And lastly, the security aspects of the area was also discussed. And we have got the different views from the Americans, from EU, from our friend from Britain, giving their views how things can be done. And we are looking at some of the best practices that we can take on from here, and probably come up with some form of capacity building.
Datuk, you're a Navy man all your life.
Yes.
So I'm just going to push straight to the line here, the 9 dash whatever. You know, it's what people keep saying. So if I look at the 9 dash line, even a layman will say, wow, that's so far away from the main coast, for example. So at the conference, I can feel the frustrations of the littoral states, smaller states. So China and the 9 dash line, if you can comment on that.
My readings goes back to way back in the 1937 and things like that. What I've read, I'm not sure whether it's true or not. This 9 dash line was the sailing routes done by the previous sailors from I think it's ROC then, coming there and going back. We have difficulties to really prove where does this 9.
But that's what China is moving on.
Yes,
that's their policy.
True.
So how do we react to this policy?
In terms of reactions,
that's what was discussed, right?
well, just as a precursor, what I would say is that I think anybody coming as close as 60 or 50 nautical miles from your coast and claims at that area, you will definitely say that, hey, there must be something wrong with it. You know.
And we will send our Navy there.
Definitely.
Yep.
Definitely.
We'll come back to that. Before I come to you, because we are the host and must welcome our Cambridge person. How do you look? I look at it. I know you look at it more from the sustainability issue, but sustainability issue also means we must get the basic in order: rule of law, respect, peace, and harmony.
Yeah, I mean, as a fellow from an international law center, I can only commend MIMA on choosing rule of law as the main topic for this year's conference. Because I think that's really the key answer to many of the sort of somewhat difficult, politically difficult issues. If you look at them through a legal lens, I think you see some of the issues much clearer. I think cooperation is key. You need to work with others. You cannot alone, as one of the states involved, save the environment of the South China Sea. You have to cooperate with all players, maybe even with countries that use the shipping routes, such as the Americans, the Japanese. Cool. So coming up with joint solution and joined up thinking is, I think, very important.
Okay, I have to go for the first break, but you know, the Palestine-Israel issue is more than 6 decades. So would the South China Sea follow down that road, or because this is the area where moderation has always been key since hundreds of years, so what mechanism are we looking at? Captain Martin Sebastian will answer that right after this short break. You are still watching a very, very special recording of Agenda AWANI. I would like to say on the sideline of a very important conference, even though we're not really on the sideline, we're a bit far from there, but not that far, of the 4th MIMA South China Sea Conference 2015. And just imagine if you have a boat and you go out all the way from Kuantan or maybe Kota Baru to the South China Sea. Do you know what's happening there? So this is exactly what we are navigating. We are mentally actually right there in the middle of the South China Sea. And there are tensions around names like Spratly Islands, Paracel, and also Scarborough. And I think Vietnam and Philippines and their media, if you go online, are very, very, very extensively covering this, especially from a nationalistic point of view. But to solve things, people have got to come together. Question is, what are the mechanisms? And I've heard the word, the phrase track 2 being mentioned again and again. Track 2 means just like the conference where you can sit down and talk. But have track 1 really been exhausted? And are there no other ways? And we've seen and heard from the Philippines and even Vietnam representative today where they are arguing for the rule of law. But it needs everyone to come to the table. And why can't that be done?
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank Astro AWANI to take this opportunity from SAS Conference 2015. This is our 4th conference. And the main issue that we are looking at is the importance of South China Sea to the whole region. And when you have unresolved boundary issues, it's like mending fences between neighbors. Okay. Now, good fences make good neighbors.
All right.
But when it comes to maritime boundary, it's not just law. It's arbitration, litigation, and negotiation. Okay. So at certain areas, you cannot throw the book of law. It's not lawfare or warfare. Okay. It is something that you discuss on certain issues. We've done it successfully in the Straits of Malacca, where we tried to resolve the fishermen's issues with Indonesia and Malaysia, signing some MOUs. The similar approach we are trying to identify in the region, and I don't think Track 1 has been exhausted because COC is Track 1. What Track 2 tried to do is...
COC is Code of Conduct, right?
Yes, it's a Track 1 issue, it's a G2G issue, and there's been some advances on COC. What Track 2 tried to do is bring academics and agencies and think tanks together and try to come out with some aspects. For example, we have CSCAP, Council for Security and Cooperation for Asia Pacific. We have the workshop on managing potential conflicts in South China Sea hosted in Indonesia. So we try to find functional cooperation areas which can build trust. And trust which builds confidence.
Do you feel trust a lot the 2 days of the conference?
Yes, I believe there was trust, especially when people are open and talking about critical issues in an open way. I remember the previous Director General liked to use the word jaw better than war.
But you can still feel that all of the representatives from the countries are coming from where they are standing.
Well, we had China, we had Indonesia, we had Europe, we had America.
So wouldn't it be coming without prejudice or with prejudice?
I think it's without prejudice. I think the more people we have in the party, the more enjoyable it will be.
Okay. I want to come back to that, the political, security and strategic matter. But this is also the century for green and sustainability. What's the point of solving problem if by the time we solve the problem, the environment has already been killed off and everything like that? So I would like to go back to Dr. Marcus Gehring here. Can you, because if I look at foreign policy, even the article have writings on the value of the ecosystem around the area which we are discussing. But when I heard today, you know, there's nothing like listening to arguments live where on certain corals it's what 500 hectares of reclamation and all this, and I think the report from Washington claims that it's more than 1,000 hectares already. So what kind of damage are we talking about being done right now while we are talking?
Yeah, I think there is a real area of concern. We are not entirely certain about the impact, and that would be my first point of criticism. I think there's now established in international law that you must have an impact assessment if you're acting in a sensitive environment. And coral reefs certainly fulfill a very important ecological function.
And they're very sensitive.
They're very sensitive, and they are not easy to replace, right? So to just go ahead with a heavy industrial project without really assessing the environmental consequences that are, in the end, suffered by all. Because the fish from those coral reefs are not just swimming in one direction, right? They are shared living natural resource.
Would that be fully addressed under United Nations Convention on Laws of the Sea?
Well, the Law of the Sea tries to address it. The main environmental chapter mainly focuses on the high seas, and to a certain extent leaves the EEZ, the exclusive economic zone, to the littoral states. So there is a connection, but we've seen in other areas where you had overlapping claims, no clear maritime boundaries, where countries nonetheless have come together because they realized if these fisheries collapse, and we're talking about very valuable fish resources.
What's the difference for this area?
Yeah, we need to, in a way, we need to ask all actors to maybe be more conscious of their international environmental obligations, and maybe try to set their differences aside for the benefit of all. Because if we lose these fisheries, they're not going to easily come back, just like the corals.
Okay.
Right?
I would like to quote Tan Sri Johar. I don't know, I didn't even ask for his permission, but I'm just going to quote it anyway. The extreme asymmetry that is putting pressure and making it so complex for the South China Sea. We have to go for the last break, but once we are back, I would like your views on that, because maybe we have to go into the shoes of China to understand the motivation first of why they're doing what they're doing. Maybe we can take, if it's insecurity feelings, maybe we can help reassure and take some of the perceived threats away. I mean, whatever proactively that can be done, that we'll discuss after this short break. Thank you for still watching this special episode of Agenda AWANI, and I couldn't thank MIMA enough for the 4th MIMA South China Sea Conference, which allowed me to have this particular discussion. So we are wrapping up certain points because not all of us could be with the 150 participants, but Laksamana Pertama Datuk Chin Yun Chin, if I can go straight to the crux of the matter, if China behave, quote unquote, then everyone else would not be so alarmed and guarded. So maybe we need to understand the thinking of China, be in their shoes. Why do they have to reclaim so much? What are they building and why?
My reading on China is that as a practitioner myself, operating in that area, building up the place for people to live comfortably is understandable. But the size that is building is something that a lot of people is questioning. You know, if you don't rebuild that area, it's quite difficult for people to live quite comfortably in that area, especially during the monsoon seasons and things like that. Like I said, the sheer size of it is the big questions that everybody is asking. Now, why they do it? I think only China can answer this.
Can we speculate for strategic security issues?
Yes and no. You know, they have been saying that they're going to open up for people to use the facilities and things like that. And I think it's a matter of time will tell whether they are willing to do that. And I sincerely hope if they ever open up for especially search and rescue, HADR activities and things like that, it would be a very good place where, in times of need, this can be a place where people goes to.
Okay, if we can't really know for sure their motivation, what's the implication from the legal aspect? Because there's a difference between corals that you can see only at low tide versus a small island that will always be seen low or high tide, and so if you can please enlighten us on that.
Well,
the new status quo.
The new status quo.
If you're talking about the current build-up of China and why they are doing it, over the years, littoral states around, they try to claim this sand case and islands and all that. Now, if you want to claim, it's like the armies, you have to put boots on ground.
Yep.
But these boots on ground need to be sustained, like what Dato said. And you need to keep them in a hospitable, and safe, from weather and all that. So, of course, you need to build an installation on it. And we did it, we have 5 offshore installations there. And one of them is now a resort at Pulau Layang-Layang. But we build houses, China built a mansion.
Okay.
So that's the issue here.
We didn't build hundreds of hectares.
We didn't build hundreds of hectares, and that's the massive degradation, like what Marcus is talking about. And what is the impact to the whole ecosystem? Especially, these are where the young part of the fisheries are, and it's where their birthplace and where they grow. So if you destroy that, at the end of the day, you're actually destroying the whole ecosystem. Yeah.
Doctor, is that, because what we learned here from the Pedra Branca episode with Singapore is that you will have to give proof that you have had interest and activities on it, and that will help your claim. So if I apply that simplistically to spread leads and whatever else that reclamation are being done, would the new normal, the new status quo help China's claim? Because, look, this is my interest, I've been building on it, you know?
Yeah, they're you know, I hope you don't mind a lawyerly answer,
yes.
because there are different opinions.
Okay.
I think the majority, as I see it, don't see it as a very useful activity in that regard, if you want to prove that as a claim, because you're basically building an artificial installation, and there's no real, you can I think we said you can claim a 500-meter security zone, but you cannot claim an exclusive economic zone around those installations. And yeah, if you see them as islands, well, then maybe you would have an exclusive economic zone around them, but it takes much more than just building up a feature.
Before we end, it has been said also at this conference, this is not just the littoral states around South China Sea, but I think foreign policy quoted the value of 5 trillion global trade passing through, and 40 to 60% of global traffic, sea lanes and all that. So this is a global interest, and would it see the participation of global friendly forces also, apart from just the ASEAN participant, China?
Yeah, I think from a European perspective, European Union, the freedom of the sea is non-negotiable, right? We don't want to go back to the times of the closed sea, where just one country controls an entire area. No, we want the shipping routes and the business routes to be open and to be usable for all. And of course, anything that unilaterally tries to create a situation that destabilizes such an important part of the world is worrisome.
Okay, cool. That's why my own personal opinion that this was a very, very important conference. We remember over 550 years ago, when the first European powers came here and blocked the sea lane by monopoly. They were called the Portuguese at the time, and took away powers from the Empire of Malacca, and we suffered for the next 550 years. So we hope for a more peaceful resolution to this particular matter. I know this discussion wouldn't do justice to everything that was discussed at this conference. You guys can come back anytime. We can call Cambridge and put you on Skype. Thank you so much to all three of you for making time to be on agenda AWANI. And terima kasih banyak kepada anda. Hantarkan pandangan anda sendiri kepada pelbagai platform yang Astro AWANI ada. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram dan sebagainya. Ataupun muat turun aplikasi mudah alih iOS dan Android. Dan insyaAllah anda boleh menonton dan memberikan kritikan secara langsung di gadget kemaran anda. Sekian, selamat malam. Terima kasih. InsyaAllah kita jumpa lagi. Thank you so much.